you all deal with hazards in one way or the other, and you're trying to mitigate those hazards and reduce the risks. So this is a very building-oriented presentation. I'll show you what I see around Kathmandu that needs some correction, that needs some awakening, because when that earthquake hits Kathmandu, it's going to be 10 times worse than what was done in Haiti. I'm going to kind of talk on a few topics dealing with hazards. I'm going to talk a little bit about fires. I'm going to talk a little bit about geology, landslides. It's called the Hazard and Risk, the Sunkosi experience. It's a very recent event. That's your landslide. That's the consequence of that landslide and the resulting things that happen. So there is definitely a hazard that was involved in that area. Did anybody ever recognize it? Because we did not consider those aspects of pre-disaster mitigation. Consequences are what? We increase the risks, resulting in floods and flood hazards. So this is just an example of how things kind of blow up on your face if you don't really pay attention to pre-disaster mitigation. That surely is a very nice looking building, isn't it? This is somewhere in Kathmandu. But look at that building while it was being built. Do you notice anything? See that big patch of slope behind? It's all cracked. Do you think this building is a 7-8 story building? Concrete frame. Do you think anybody ever designed that building for the impact from those soils? Probably not. So what have we done now? By not addressing those other issues of pre-disaster mitigation, that's mitigation. If somebody had addressed those issues, maybe they could build it there. That is an actual event that happened in China. Failure from temporary construction dirt stories behind this 13-story building. It toppled. This is a disaster. And that's a disaster waiting to happen. There are forces of nature that can create all kinds of havoc. These are all hazards. Earthquakes, fires, and these are the consequences. 1934 earthquake. Haiti, big fire because of an earthquake. This is from the Nepal Sikkim earthquake. But if we don't mitigate these in time, these are the consequences. And these are forces of nature that you all actually deal with. And there are man-made disasters. This is the fire at the Kia automobile factory or auto shop. Happened very recently. This is from Calcutta, hospital on fire. I think 83 people got killed. That is from Bangladesh. Remember when that 7-story building, garment factory collapsed? It was all over the news. But again, those are disasters or risks that people take, but they never thought of these pre-disaster mitigation issues. These could all have been mitigated in one way or the other, if we followed it. And as a consequence, the post-disaster became horrendously bad, unacceptable in a way. But there are means and methods, and those are called codes. Not in your line of work, but in my line of work, there are codes that give you the rules and regulations. And I'm sure most of you will tell me, yeah, in Nepal too, we have lots of codes, everything is there. But is that adequate? Are they really addressing these pre-mitigation issues? We'll see. I just happened to look, or happened to review a 21-story building that has been constructed. It's a high-rise building. Okay? These are a report that I sent out. So basically, there are some fundamental things that you find that are really bothersome when you start to look at this whole aspect of disaster and disaster mitigation, post-disaster mitigation. There's a lot of money being spent on that. And I'll share that with you. First of all, here are some findings that I just had. Architectural report. On a 21-story building, 9 pages. Is that you think adequate? Just common sense. Name and title of the person who made that report is not shown. It's not clear. Developer signs the architectural report. Kind of unusual, isn't it? If an architect is really doing his work, why is he not taking responsibility for it? Which means, again, we are not paying attention to issues of pre-disaster mitigation, or they don't want to talk about it. There's something going on that we don't quite know. There's something called a project report, it's 5 pages. Again, an unnamed individual, the developer affiliated, authenticates this report. Why is a developer authenticating a report for a building where people are going to live? The developer's vested interests to make sure that that building gets constructed, irrespective of disaster mitigation or no disaster mitigation. Then there's something called a project brief. It is very non-binding and non-committal. And if you build a 21-story building and you don't address the issues of traffic, you don't address the issues of fire, you don't address the issues of waste, you don't address the issues of infrastructure, you don't talk about issues on climate in reality, and your environment, I think you have a problem. And a lot of times you find in the report, it says, as far as the report is littered with as far as possible. What does that mean? As far as possible means, I'll try, but if I can't do this, okay. Is that how you do a report on a 21-story building? For some, but to me, no. That means it raises all kinds of questions. What does it mean when you say, as far as possible in a report? We tried, but we're done. Similarly, there was a disaster management plan, 10 pages. It was totally unrealistic, impractical evaluation, evacuation plan, sorry, that's a mistake. And then the existing system violates acceptable standards. You have a 21-story building, you have a fire on the 21st floor. How do you get out of that building? You are on a wheelchair, or you have an elderly set of parents. How do they evacuate out? None of these things were ever addressed. Then I happened to kind of look at that SOLS report, a geotechnical report. 5 pages. And I'll tell you what those pages, I remember very clearly in my mind. I mean, all of you write reports, right? Right? The first page is, of course, the cover page, right? Nice pictures, so-and-so, titles and all that, right? Second page was introduction, right? Standard introduction, all of them had the same introduction. Third page was table of contents. Fourth page was what we call a sieve analysis. I think some of you know what sieve analysis is, right? When you do soils, you do a sieve analysis. You can pull that chart from anywhere, right? So about that. And then 5 page was, half the page was conclusions. And apparently, this building was in what we call a liquefaction zone. You know what that is, right? Geologists among you? Can you hear it? Soils report, not signed by a soils engineer, 5 pages on a 21-story building. What have we done? We have completely forgotten pre-mitigation requirements. So, this whole issue of post-disaster reduction is very contingent or hinged upon pre-disaster mitigation, right? That's just very obvious. So when I see reports like this, it really scares me. The issue then becomes, there are many lives at stake. When you do stuff like this, there are financial investments that are involved, right? And then in reality, tomorrow could be more secure if, in so many ways, in so many sectors, if only I leave it blank, each of you can fill that. What do you think? I don't know what you'll say. Each of you are going to tell me something else. But things could be better tomorrow if we just took care of these issues of pre-disaster mitigation. In your field, in my field, in the medical field, I mean, whatever field you like. It's a very generic thing I'm making, okay? Therefore, I make this statement, it says, that's what I believe in, and I think that's what I'm trying to convey, that we need to change things around.
Karnali Mahakali